Bill Sherman helps people take their ideas to scale through thought leadership. He spent 20 years in the field working with world class business thought leaders and Fortune 500 organizations. Thought leadership helps people see around corners. And as the chief operating officer of Thought Leadership Leverage, Bill helps clients who want to use thought leadership, whether to fill a sales pipeline or influence how people think and act. Bill is passionate about the topic of organizational thought leadership, and that is, well, the people who create, curate, and deploy thought leadership to help their organization reach its goals. He hosts a weekly podcast titled Leveraging Thought Leadership. You have to check this program out, where he talks shop with people who are doing thought leadership work inside their organizations. Bill is and Peter Winnick are one of the people who ever so kindly have allowed me to sort of troll and sit in the shadows of their thought leadership group weekly gathering on that. And hopefully I've added one or two pithy moments there, if not one or two self-deprecating pieces of humor. Bill, how are you? How's everything?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here. And I'd say you've done more than trolling on the site. You've actually in the group, you've really contributed.
Thank you so much. Listen, one of the very first things in your bio, and we've talked about this before when the microphone wasn't turned on, is this kind of affinity you have for bringing ideas to scale, which is, it's in my head. How do I get it out of my head? How do I socialize it? And how do we create something real from this? And also, maybe you could put that through the filter of COVID-19, work from home. What are the challenges right now? So, if you don't mind, give me a couple minutes on bringing ideas to scale.
Absolutely. So let me start with a quick definition of what is thought leadership as a level set, right? And so one of the ways that I like to think about it is thought leadership is the ability to peer around corners, see a future, and then share that back with an audience to help them prepare, to help them take action. So if it's an idea that simply lives in an academic journal and it doesn't help the business world, well, that's an idea, but it's not thought leadership. If it's a vision that a senior level executive has for where their organization could go, but they fail to communicate it to their frontline employees, that's not thought leadership, that's a vision. And then if you have a technology or new product, or you see how the market is evolving, and you want to share that with prospects, customers, or people who are writing public policy, you need to influence how they think and act. And that might be 3 to 5 years out. You may not have product to sell today. So when I talk about taking ideas to scale, it's taking the idea that's in your head, whether you're a senior executive, whether you're a business as school academic, you're a keynoter or a thinker or consultant, and finding a way to have that idea reach more people than just your immediate network of friends or people that you talk to in a cocktail party. One of the things that I think about as reaching scale is we talked about personal branding a lot in the 90s and the aughts, right? And with personal branding, it's a way of putting yourself in the spotlight so people know what you're about, the expertise that you have, and they come to you. There's a difference with thought leadership. Thought leadership, when you have a clear platform, when people know what your ideas are about, and you put the ideas on a platform, much like a stage in a theatrical performance or concert, you put the ideas center stage, you shine the spotlight on them, and then instead of working harder and people wanting more of your time, the ideas themselves start to do work,
Right.
and you build a movement where
Right.
people lean in and say, yeah, that resonates with something that I've been
Right.
thinking or feeling.
Right.
And so thought leadership is either creating a community and getting people to talk about it, or additionally engaging in a current conversation and responding and adding your point of view.
So the idea itself becomes the hero, not the person.
Absolutely, rather than yourself, right? Because there's only so many hours in a day for any of us. And if you look at thought leadership that has reached scale successfully,
Hmm.
either among organizations or individuals, there's often someone who does a little bit of voice work for the idea.
Hmm.
They stand on a podium, they give the idea voice,
Hmm.
but the idea endures without them. And if you think about some enduring thought leadership,
Hmm.
we could go back to one of the platforms that's been most successful on sort of business thought leadership. Um, Stephen M. R. Covey or Stephen Covey's
Hmm.
7 Habits
Hmm.
of Highly Effective People.
Sure.
He wrote that book decades ago,
Yeah.
and it's still referenced today,
Oh, it's very,
even though
very,
he's been
yeah,
gone,
very
right?
relevant. Hey, my next question is just to get some thoughts from you on the evolution or the rapidly changing role of thought leadership, right now. Can you share with me your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, so let's start with a basic premise. LinkedIn, in terms of its utilization, COVID
Hmm.
has gone up and skyrocketed.
Hmm.
It is now a place to be that you absolutely have to be there. And more broadly, if you're not active on social, you're almost invisible,
Hmm.
either as an individual or a business, right? We're not meeting at events and conventions, for
Hmm.
example. So, where thought leadership is going, if we look at the enterprise level, Fortune 500 global organizations,
Hmm.
they're using thought leadership now, and they're actually creating thought leadership functions within the organization to achieve one of several goals.
Hmm.
One, to fill the sales pipeline.
Hmm.
They're looking to use thought leadership to drive sales over the current quarter. Two, to sustain conversations when it would be awkward or inappropriate to sell at that point.
Hmm.
You might have a prospect who's not ready to buy just yet, and you can't send your salespeople to talk to them after month and say,
Hmm.
"Hey, that big capital expenditure, are you ready to do it yet?" You have to find a reason to re-engage, right?
Right.
Or it could be awkwardly inappropriate to talk to people on a sales conversation.
Hmm.
So, media influencers, public policy makers, you're sharing ideas and you're trying to persuade them on how to think and act,
Right.
but you're not selling them directly.
Right.
And then the third piece is that ability to see around corners. Some of it's education, and some of it's influence. So you
Hmm.
may be trying to persuade your employees this is the vision for the organization where we're going,
Hmm.
or build new relationships with prospects that might not buy.
And just my final question to you, Bill, is a question I ask everybody, which is, what lessons have we learned through going through these multiple crises? What lessons have we learned that we must not forget?
So, from a thought leadership perspective, I think the trend line, the thought leadership has been becoming important,
Hmm.
has accelerated much faster than we've seen before. And
Hmm.
it's gone from a nice to have, either on the individual professional level or the organizational level. And the lesson that we've learned, I think, is that selling and, product and feature selling, for example, isn't what people are looking for, or it's not only what they're looking for.
Hmm.
They're looking to understand and solve their problems.
Hmm.
So if you're not positioning yourself as someone who can help solve their problems
Hmm.
and be relevant and bring them new ideas, they're going to tune out. They're going to say, "Yeah, heard that already before. You're saying what everybody else is saying.
Hmm.
Show me something new."
Sure.
And with the lesson with that is, it's a big, wide world out there.
Sure.
And you can build a business by being relevant to 1/10% of a target audience.
Sure.
And you don't have to be relevant to everyone.
Sure.
Broadcasting is fading. It's
Right.
about narrowcasting now.
All right. Listen, I guess I'll see you this coming Tuesday. Thanks for taking the time.
Wonderful. Look forward to it, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.